to T3 Teach Tech Theater. Today, Julie and I wanted to kind of go back to some of the focuses that we've had in pre-COVID land when we were actually talking more about teaching tech. And today's topic is one that is near and dear to our hearts, and that is the idea of creating a culture of safety in your tech theater program.
That was one of the main reasons that we even started this together in the first place, is because we were seeing people who made us cringe. We were like, oh, that's not so, And we thought we can try to help other teachers be more safe.
So Julie and I have done a lot of kind of visiting other schools and seeing what other programs are doing. And as she said, there are times when we have just cringed. And it really is not so much a sense of the theater teacher waking up in the morning and going, what can I do that's going to be unsafe and endanger kids? But it really is more just not knowing or not being aware. And so we wanted to spend some time today talking about, in this society and in this day and age, we really owe it to ourselves, to our programs, and to our kids in the theater community to make sure that we are as safe as possible. So I'm going to talk about myself for just a moment and say that when I was teaching at my other school, at Valhalla High School in El Cajon, California, I was very pleased with my program and the quality of the students that were leaving my program and going elsewhere. We have a community college very close to us, and a lot of my kids filtered through there and got some excellent training at Grossmont Community College. And one day I was sitting and I was chatting with the TD. We were at an event and I was chatting with the TD, and he said, you know, I just love your kids. And I just went, me too. And he said, but I got to tell you, every time I see a kid that tells me they are from your program, I have to do a full stop because your kids are so dangerous, they're going to kill somebody. And I've got to train them to keep them safe, and then we're okay. And I was like, what? I mean, what a shock to think that I was really putting out this really great product. And certainly that was not the reputation that I wanted of, I have kids that know their stuff, but they're going to kill somebody. Great. So it caused me to really full stop think about, oh my gosh, what am I doing with this program that's going to be the reputation? I don't think so. So that really caused a 180 shift in my thinking and what I needed to do for my theater program. And actually right around that time, it was kind of a bit of a perfect storm. Julie and I became, used to be called ROP, and now it's CTE, Career Tech Ed. Tech theater teachers, and one of the requirements for us to have that program was to create a safety manual. So with that in mind, then we started to create our own safety manual. I know that it may seem shocking, but our district did not have anything in place at that point for tech theater because, you know, it's theater. So we had to go and do a lot of the research ourselves. And so the first place we stopped was OSHA and what were regulations about equipment and guards and different things like that. And then we piggybacked onto USITT and also took a look at what IATSE was saying about safety. And we created a safety manual. Initially started out just for the two of us, but eventually has been adopted by our district. All of our district teachers are using that same safety manual. And it's something that's been out and about for quite a while. When we used to do in-person workshops on theater safety, that was one of the things that the participants would be this safety manual.
If the teacher doesn't feel particularly knowledgeable about safety, what often happens is that you have a parent who might be a contractor or something, or people who do weekend projects, and so you rely heavily on them. But as you are trying to build your program, and you want to be able to train your own kids to use the tools. And again, I am saying that we are at a high school. I know that there are many middle school programs that will not let the kids actually touch the tools. But I want to be able to have a program where I can feel okay about walking away and knowing that the kid knows how to safely use a saw. Because in my program, as in Kirsten's, many of them, you know, I've got 40 kids in my technical theater class. Mm-hmm. So I can't watch 40 kids at the same time. I have to be secure in the knowledge that they know how to properly use the tool, and that if something has gone wrong, they're going to come and get me. So for me, safety became paramount, that I needed to rely on myself and my students, not rely on a parent. I needed to know that my program and my students were safe.
In our travels, one of the things that we have found is that a lot of people who are teaching educational theater come from the world of acting or directing or that area of expertise. And for most of us, once we take over a program in a school, we are a department of one. And there is so much in the world of tech theater that is very foreign to people. And for some, they have kind of abdicated all responsibility to a nice parent that is going to build things and hopefully teach their kids. And we're here to advocate that you as an educator really owe it to yourself and to your students to know how to safely use the tools that you are requiring your students to use. So we want to encourage that you educate yourself on how to safely use the equipment within your program.
Even to the point, when we were able to have workshops in person, we had plenty of teachers who were like, yes, I know how to use a saw. I'm like, yep, we're going to make you do the exact same thing we make the students do, because knowing how to use something and physically using it can be different. I can learn how to swim from outside the water, but it's a completely different world when I get wet, of like, how do I move my arms? How do I hold that saw? Oh, it is a little scary when I'm using that, and how to sit through that and go, okay, if I understand it, then I'm able to instruct a kid, and I'm able to understand they're going to be afraid perhaps on this, and how can I support them? I adore teaching students how to use the big scary saw, right? So there's a crosscut miter saw. I love it. 12-inch, and frequently, not always, but frequently it is a girl who's like, I don't want to use it. And I'm like, oh, no, you do want to use it. And when we walk them through and they use that power for the first time, they're like, oh, well, that was kind of cool. I'm like, isn't it? Isn't it? It's the power. Don't let the boys have all the power. Everybody gets to have the power. And that's one of my favorite things about teaching kids tech.
So with a safety unit, what ends up happening just within the organization, because Julie and I collaborate a lot, and so our classes are organized in a very similar manner. After we do those first couple weeks, now we're talking about curriculum and teaching in real world. We are in class, we are seeing kids every single day. That's going to be the reality in which we're talking about this. But we do know that there's a lot of you that are doing like an in-person or a blended thing. So we felt like we kind of needed to start to share this element. So the first couple weeks are the weeks when kids are kind of coming in and going out. And so that's a lot of our icebreaker team building type. That's when we're trying to, hey, you really want to be here because we're fun and we're cool and stick around. That's the power of personality couple weeks. And then we get into the nitty gritty of it, which is starting with safety first. Nothing happens in our programs until the students have been safely trained and how to use the equipment in our programs. So we start with the safety unit. The students get a safety manual that we go through. We have safety PowerPoints that they have to take notes on. And then they have to pass a safety test at 100%. That is a requirement when Julie and I were CTE teachers, that they pass the safety test at 100%. So we've just kept that, even though we no longer teach CTE in our district. But that passing at 100% shows the kids we're serious about this, and that they can't do anything in our programs until they pass that test. Now, I've had kids that have taken it 6 and 7 times, but they still cannot do anything until they have passed that test at 100%.
So once we've gotten all the kids, we've lectured, they've taken the test, we're at 100%. The next thing we have to do is we have to make sure that they have the ability to be signed off on a tool, that they know how to physically, safely use it. So back to that swimming thing, they're going to actually get in the water now. And I go out in small groups because I can't have 40 kids looking at me at the same time. And batches, we kind of round robin it around. And we are literally using the saw. I'm going over all the parts of the saw, the screw gun, the jigsaw, the sander, all of the tools that we might be using. I go through each one. I show them how it can hurt them. That's one of our questions always, of like, what does this do? How could it hurt me? And then they have to demonstrate that they know how to use it, and then I sign them off, and that happens with each time. Then after they've learned how to do everything, and they start building their first project, which is still a safety project, which we'll talk about in a moment, they have to do a record. They have to take a picture of themselves safely using the tool, to go in a PowerPoint as a cover my own butt kind of thing of, nope, the kid knows how to safely use the tool. They've been signed off, and here's a picture of them using it safely, and here's the thing that they've made. To cover ourselves and to cover the kids, it can't just be a one and done. They can't be like, oh yeah, I learned that once. It's got to be some repetition so that they know how to use it and know how to use it safely.
So to piggyback on what Julie says, one of the things too that we as instructors owe our kids is the fact that they are using equipment that is properly maintained and is safe. There are guards that are in place on the machines that need guards. There are power cords that are working well. The students have their goggles, their safety goggles, their foam earplugs, and that they are covered so that, again, you are making a statement to your students that their safety matters and is a priority. I had several students last year who took pictures of themselves using the equipment, and I kicked back their PowerPoints because they somehow got by me in the insanity of 40 kids in my shop, and we're taking pictures of them, cutting things without eyes and ears. And I was like, no, that's, go back, fix that, because you need to know that that is the safety thing. And with that, when I made the conscious decision to create safety as a priority, I went online and got some compliance signs. So I have signs all over my shop that say think safety or safety first, or this equipment requires personal protective equipment, may not use without. There's a whole bunch of stuff like that I found online. And now in my new school, my shop is outside in a gated area. And one of the things that I have also posted is that students in flip-flops or open-toed shoes may not even go into my yard, let alone be able to build or use things. They're not even allowed in the yard. So again, it's a constant reminder, safety first, safety first, safety first.
Something I picked up from Kirsten is she loves label makers. She actually gave me my label maker, that on like the big saws, it says you must be signed off in order to use this tool. Of like every single time they're touching something, like if you don't know how to use it, don't touch this.
One of the things that I really owe a great amount of debt to for one of my past principals, when I would come to her with a question, she would sit back and she would always go, I'm picturing the headline. And that to me has really kind of stuck. So for things like, if, God forbid, somebody got hurt and somebody comes through my shop and goes, well, what did you have in place to ensure that this kid was not going to get hurt? I can point to the signs. I can point to the safety equipment. I can point to the little things that say, you must be trained to use this saw. All of those kind of things are all part of covering my tuchus, as well as sending the message. But let's be real, we're in a very litigious society. And I don't want to be on the bad end of something because I just didn't take the time to prepare. So one of the things when Julie and I were talking about this safety thing, some of us are back to work a little bit. Some of us are back to work more with the insanity. But if you are in any way allowed into your space or you have time on your hands, this might be a perfect opportunity to really do a very deep clean and honest assessment of the quality of the tools that you have for the safety of you and for the safety of your kids. And I've done this now. This is the third shop that I've had to create from nothing in the school that I'm in right now. And honestly, I have nothing right now because in June, somebody stole all of my equipment. But prior to that, when I inherited this program, I went through every single tool to make sure it was safe. The stuff that I could take to be repaired, I did. The stuff where it was just like this, there's going to be so much it's not worth it, had to go. So we just want to encourage you to take that time and to really take an honest look in your shop. Is my shop organized? Is it clean? If I am not a stressed out theater teacher in the heat of a show and I walk into the shop for the first time, what is the impression that I am giving to someone who does not know me or my program? So if you're curious and you are interested in looking at an organization of a shop, on our YouTube channel, Julie and I have both done separate videos where we have walked you through our spaces, and both of us address how we handle our shop or how we organize our shops. So if you want to check that out, it's put a description somewhere in the comments if you want to try to find that. And it might be a way just to give you some ideas. So let's switch gears a little bit. And we talked or alluded to the fact that we had a project after we trained all the kids on how to use all of the tools that they needed to know how to use in our shop. Julie was the one actually that came up with this project. So Julie, I'm going to let you talk about the fan boat. Da, da, da.
Okay, so apparently there's something called Tibbs the safety mouse, which is used in other areas, but I didn't even know about that. And instead, I was trying to figure out some project that I could make my students do so that they could demonstrate that they knew all the things I needed them to know. So as Kirsten said, after they've taken the test, after they've been signed off on stuff, this is the fan boat. Now you have to kind of imagine in the Everglades and kind of squint your eyes funny that it's like those big ass fans. Like, woo! The kids absolutely hate this. Absolutely hate it. In a good way, because I'm very exacting. What my instructions are, I need it to be exactly what I said. And if it's a 1/4 inch off, you get to do it again. It has to be exactly what it's supposed to be. So this amazing little thing, what it is, it's saying that the kids are learning how to cut 45-degree angles correctly, how to measure for it. So they're not just cutting a 45, because if you do, then it's going to be lopsided. Then you save those pieces. You then cut an 8-inch piece from that. You cut a 3-inch piece of 2x4. You take like a quart size lid or a yogurt lid. I've got several of them outside that are attached to a string. And this is not the most, I just picked this one up from the floor from where the children had left it. This is not the most circular of my choices, but it's all right. They trace that and they have to use a jigsaw. They have to then sand the edges. So, and then they are going to screw in those pieces that they cut off. First, they have to screw in that 3-inch piece from the bottom. Then they screw in those 2 other pieces from the bottom using different size screws. So a 3-inch screw, a 2-inch screw. This is a 1-inch screw into here. This is literally everything I'm going to ask a kid to do: to measure, to cut 2x4, to follow my instructions, because it's all written out, to use a jigsaw, to use a 3-inch screw, a 2-inch screw, and a 1-inch screw, and a sander. So everything I might ever ask the kid is right here. And this ends up being something that helps me identify who are my best builders and who are better as second in command and who may be not so motivated to be in my class. So this is their first real project. The kids who are gung-ho, this, when nobody else is using the equipment, this should take you, I don't know, half an hour. Other people all using the equipment, it should take you a day or 2. So the kids who finish in a day or 2, those end up getting paired up together. I'm like, oh, you're gung-ho and you know what you're doing? Great. Let me put you with another gung-ho and know what they're doing. And they're starting building the parts I need first. So they're building my platforms, right? They're building the structural pieces. As kids slowly finish, they're getting paired up with people who are about the same skill level because they finished around the same time. And then they're building me walls, or maybe they're putting facing on stairs because most of the stuff has been built by then, or they took a long time, or maybe they end up being one of the people who make sure that it's clean every day, or are helping sort out screws. Because if it takes you 3 weeks to complete this, it tells me something about either your work ethic or what is best suited for you, what jobs are best suited for you.
I will say that's the benefit. When Julie came up with this project, it was amazing because we can, again, have physical proof that the students have been trained in the correct procedures on how to use every single tool in the shop that they are going to be using. Now, we both have table saws. I'm not such a fan of the table saw. Julie is, but that's not something the kids are going to be using every day. So we've got chop saw, jigsaw, screw gun. For me, I've got impact guns, the belt sander, and the kids know how to use those. And that's as long as they have just even that in their back pocket, I've created a crew of safe people, because that fan boat shows me they know what they're doing. And so in that PowerPoint kind of portfolio thing that Julie was talking about, they take a photograph of the completed fan boat, the fan boat that is done correctly.
And literally, if it's a 1/4 inch off or an 1/8 of inch off, I make them redo it, because it needs to be precise. Everything in theater is precise because you don't know what piece is matching up to another piece, and we need to make sure that they're matching up. It has been, like I said, the kids hate it because I'm like, nope, do that one again. That's why they hate it. But I love it.
And it also shows you who doesn't read directions, because there's specific points to putting the boat together. And when they come up with this things like, you didn't even read anything. Right. You just relied and eyeballed what everybody else was doing in the yard and thought you could fake it. So that's another really good lesson for the students also, is that you can't just make it up as you go. It doesn't work that way. One of the other things too that we have then, after they create that fan boat, they do a self-reflection. And that is one of the most important pieces, because the students really have a chance to revel in what they did well, acknowledge the things that aren't that great, and then they do get to grade themselves. So that part also, it's things like, I never had used any of these tools before, and now I'm feeling like I can do a lot around my house. Fantastic. We're not sending out, we don't anticipate that everybody in tech is going to end up being professional, but it's stuff that's good to have in your back pocket, how to safely use. They've got a healthy respect for the tools that are there, and they can all safely use them. And I will say that even the most hesitant student has to do this project. They may say after they've completed the fan boat, I am tapping out of this power tool stuff. That's fine. As long as they can safely use it, I'm okay with that. But they all have to do that. And I think, Julie, you and I were chatting about this at one point, how funny it was that even when we were teaching our incarcerated youth at La Jolla Playhouse, we had a lot of kids that had some pretty significant fear of those power tools. And once they were able to use them, it was like, oh, yeah, they're loud, but they're not scary. Healthy respect, yes. But the fear is the thing that makes it dangerous.
And as Kirsten said, all of these kids aren't going to go off and become professionals, but to be able to do stuff around the house, to be able to understand how something is made, to be able to fix. I've had so many parents come up to me. I had their kid in their freshman year, and they happened to see me at a show in their senior year, like, she helped me build a bookshelf. And I'm like, well, that's great. I said, are you sure? And she's like, yeah, I know how to do it. And she did. And I'm like, that's great. Or built something in a garage, or, giving the kids a sense of self and a sense of completion, and giving the kids a sense of empowerment. That is what's important.
With that empowerment comes that knowledge of responsibility. And with that responsibility comes that knowledge of safety. So we want to bring that back to just a reminder that nothing in theater is worth harming a person. No show is more important than the safety of your company. And I know that I'm a little old school, and it used to be, well, it's theater. If people in the back with the cigarette, it's theater. Just suck it up, actor, suck it up. And that time is gone. And even at the professional level, everybody is safety first, safety first, safety first. So we want to encourage you to take a healthy look at what you are doing in your program to ensure that your students are safe. And what can you do in your shop to ensure that your students are safe? One of the cool things that we are offering to our members on our website, by the way, are the instructions to the fan boat. All you need to do is go to www.teachtechtheater.org and become a member, and you too can get the instructions for the fan boat. So we also want to encourage you, if you are just standing in a shop and are just lost, we can help you with that. We've done a lot of kind of going around San Diego, walking into people's shops and saying, here's how to fix things. We're happy to help you via video, etc. Or do you just want to talk about, let's chat about this? I don't know. We're here to help you because we want to make sure that you and your program are safe. So please feel free to shoot us an email, teachtechtheater@gmail.com, and ask us because we're happy to help.
Stay tuned. In early December, we should have our safety unit available on our website at teachtechtheater.org. There's lots and lots of resources for you to look at. If you've not checked that out, you definitely want to check that out. There's plenty there to spend some time on.
And if you sign up to become a member on our website, you are going to get the free instructions on how to make the fan boat. Oh.
Truly, it's kind of nice. It really, really is.
Highly recommend. Highly recommend. There are lots of San Diego County educators making fan boats, gotta say. And as always, please feel free to contact us if you have any questions at teachtechtheater@gmail.com. Check out that website, become a member, get those fan boat instructions, teachtechtheater.org, and we will see you next time. Bye.